So here we have the Gate of the Setting Sun Heroic. It is a level 90 only heroic dungeon. This is from the point of view of a restoration shaman. And my name is Joe, and I am from InternetDragons.tv. So hope you enjoy. There will be some commentary here and there about what's going on in the fights. The backstory is that you're helping the Shado-Pan Monastery, the monks that are attempting to... they're basically the only military that the Pandaran race have, and you're attempting to push back the Calaxi, which are a bug-like race. Best way I can explain is, you ever seen the Borat show or Space Ghost? They're like that Mantid-like creature. So they're all very bug-like, and they have different aspects of them. Some are warriors, some are engineers. There are flyers and ground troops. There are giant brain bugs. It's pretty diverse. So what you're trying to do here is you're fighting actually along the wall, trying to get to the Gate of the Setting Sun, which separates the internal, the very necessary Veil of the Eternal Blossoms, which is where all of the power of Pandaria springs from these creatures that are just attempting to swarm the Great Wall and make their way into it. As you can see here, the first pulls are pretty straightforward. You'll notice that there are little bombs that go out and explode in Bomberman-like fashion. You can see that they go out in straight lines, no angles or anything like that. There can be multiple bombs out at any given point in time, which you'll see some that'll cross paths. And it's one of those things where very clearly you don't want to stand in the fire. And as you can see in the back there are flyers dropping off troops as well as these bombs to sort of reinforce. You can see them overhead dropping the bombs right about now. The bombs are pretty easy to avoid. They give you those little yellow hash marks to let you know that they're coming. And yeah, pretty straightforward. And you can see me being a little bit of a baddie there and running through the fire, but I had to get in range of my tanks to heal them. Now this all leads up to the first boss, which is actually pretty close to the beginning of the instance. As you can see, this is pretty much all the trash pulls, and the first boss will be coming up in just a moment here. Okay, as you can see here, we're moving into the room. The first boss is Saboteur Kiptilak. Very interesting name, as all hyphenated like most of the bugs here. You can see he's kind of stockpiled bombs in the room here on the back and the sides. I should say she. Very clearly a female voice. My apologies. As you can see, bombs are being thrown out. Now, the interesting mechanic about these bombs is that they don't really explode on their own. They explode if a person, as you see here, gets a sabotage, where the person explodes just like the bombs, and the boss will, if one bomb gets hit, they all blow up. And just like the bombs, it's a straight line back and forward and to the sides. And the goal really is to find the spots where it's safe, and you always have an idea of where these bombs are going to go. Again, there's no real change in direction, it's all perpendicular. The fight otherwise is pretty much a tank and spank. There is an achievement for it, which we did not do in this run, and that achievement is to let 20 bombs go down before you explode any of them. And it actually gets really tight, because if you touch one of the bombs, if you explode near one of the bombs, they all go up. So it takes a lot of control and a lot of timing to get that done. It also means holding back your DPS. As you see here, this is a pretty quick boss fight. So from here, we are going to move on further down the lane and make our way through more aerial combat. It's a pretty straight line, very linear dungeon, nothing real extraordinary about it in that sense, but the details are actually pretty cool. You can actually see Shado-Pan monks flying off the sides, or Calaxi jumping up the sides, and you can see in the background there the Calaxi army waiting to swarm the wall. Those are giant warriors with the little Mantid warriors between them. Very cool, very nice little touch in the background there. You can also see the details on the wall with the banners flying in the courtyards. Very, very nice instance, very pretty instance, but also a lot of fun.
You cannot command me.
As you can see here, the bombardiers are not exactly content just to let them bomb the players. They are attacking the wall. And you can see the wall there did go down. That is a constant siege happening here. And as you move through the walls, you can actually see that. Over here, we're actually running across one of the gates and into one of the further guardhouses, where there are more waiting for us. And they are fighting the Shado-Pan Monks. And this is a part where we had to wait for the tank to kind of go and come back. Not very exciting, but, well, you can't really pull without the tank. You can see the tank has returned. We did pull and move in our way towards the next boss. Some more trash, pretty simple, nothing too extraordinary there. Just regular tank and spank warriors, nothing to be really overly excited about. And what you have here is actually the elevator to the next boss. See, the bridge ahead of us is covered in fire, and this is because the strikers, which is the aerial component of the Mantid Empire's massive army, are actually bombing the bridge with pitch to keep us from being able to progress. So you can see here we're kind of partially there. We're getting towards the end of the fight, the end of the instance. There are only 4 bosses, so we're well more than the midway point. But what we're going to do is get everybody gathered up, click the lever over here on the side. We're going to be going up to go ahead and face the boss. Now, Striker Gadok is an ace. He's basically one of the top Mantid generals. He's one of the flight deck aces, so to speak. He's very keen on dealing devastating, fiery damage to his enemies. That's basically what he's doing here. He's commanding the Mantids you can see flying back and forth in the background there to kind of go at him. and just kind of take out the bridge and put fire down. And as you can see here, we're about to go ahead and pull the boss. Lovely little taunt that he's going to hurl our corpses from the tower. Nothing too original. Now the boss fight is divided into a couple different components. He has two real main abilities. Well, three. One is going to be those giant pools of acid, which do periodic damage. You can see those there. Real easy, just move out of those. The other you see here is where he lights an entire swath of the platform on fire. Now the platform is a giant cross. It's a giant X. So it goes from one corner to the other, and then he moves to the other side and repeats the process from the other side to the other. It becomes a little more difficult to heal your party because you very easily will get split up. Now during this phase he will also grab you, as you see here, and deal massive amounts of damage to you while you're basically being dragged over the fire, where he will drop the player into the fire. Those are his main abilities, and this is pretty much the entirety of the fight. You just repeat the process until you're done. So you can see here, moving out of the bad, moving out of the poison, getting prepared to move out of the fire, which we do here. Now that beeping you hear is an add-on that I use called GTFO. You can understand what that stands for. I'm a very audio cue player, so even when something as visible as that, I have been known to tunnel vision my heels. So I like having that little annoying reminder in my ear saying, hey, move your chamois rear. Comes in quite handy. More so for raiding, though, than anything else. You can see here the boss went down in the middle of his ability, so we have to wait for the fire to clear. Go ahead and get our loot. Now there are basically cannons set aside so you can take out the wing fighters here, so you can actually blow them out of the sky and you can see them falling in the background there. The entire purpose of that is to give them a warning so that they leave you the heck alone and give you clear space so that you can get to the next area. The idea is once you blow them out of the sky, which you can see there's no more left, you gather back up on the platform here and lower yourself down. Now what we're going to do here is there are actually no mobs between this and the next mini event. And it's going to be charging forward across the bridge over to where there's a bell. And the bell is actually going to signal that we have taken out the first two bosses and are slowly taking back the wall and the gate. So as we're going to make our way up to the hill here. And I'm going to cut the sound here for just a few moments on my voice because there is going to be a very awesome video for you to watch.
The gates are about to fall! Quickly, slaughter these battlers!
Nice little cutscene right in the middle of the instance. It's actually very pretty, gives you a very good idea, a very good look at the bridge and some of the architecture along it and the wall, and actually shows you who the final boss that we're going to be facing, a giant brain bug by the name of Rygon. But before we get to that point, there is a boss here, and you can see him at the end of the bridge that we are going to have to face, Commander Rymok. Commander Rymok is basically the ground forces general. He basically keeps sieging the towers and the gates, and he just basically comes out of his shell and tries to take on the party head-on. You can see he summons people to go ahead and take out the party, or at least attempt to. Now his abilities are a little bit more straightforward. He deals just a massive amount of damage. He has a flurry attack, which is like a rapid succession of attacks that do damage to the players, but you can move out in front of him because he's stationary during that time. It's like E Honda's 100-hand slap or 1,000-hand slap from Street Fighter all those years ago. He just stays in one place, constantly like swiping. for a few seconds. The other ability is, remember that poison that we saw the last boss do? Mantids really like dropping poison. They have a lot of poison glands, so to speak. So he tends to drop them underneath him. So the boss has to be constantly kited while being fun. You can see the flurry there. The tank did sidestep it, and stepped back in front so he didn't take too much damage, and there you can go ahead and see the poison. And you can see how he's leaving a trail of it. Now he does constantly summon more Mantid that kind of crawl over the wall and have to be managed. Now they don't hit too terribly hard unless they all gang up on you. They do disappear when the boss himself does die. So you can kind of take a look at this from here and see how the tank's just moving him up and down the wall while our DPS just completely unloads on him. You see the tank sidesteps, and the Fury Cutter, as I'm going to go ahead and call it, does no damage to him. There is poison, so we do have to back up. We do have to kite him back across the bridge. You can see his health is steadily going down. One more Fury Cutter, and dead boss. Pretty easy, actually very, very nice. It's a kind of a tank and spank, but it gives you a good idea of some mechanics that you're going to see in raids, because there is going to be that sort of fury spike, that sort of damage spike that you're going to get. So as you can see, we've taken out the ground forces commander, so the Shado-Pan are starting to recover. And you can see they kind of took this guardhouse, this tower to get over, and they're using it to recover and then go back out into the fight. You see that bridge that was damaged earlier, and in the background you can see some of the giant Mantid warriors. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to follow the monks and head down to try to take out that Rygon. So we're going to jump down through the gaps, down into the keep, and down through this tunnel so that we can go out into the courtyard and take out Rygon. Now, Rygon is the colossal Mantid here. He's basically a living battering ram. That's his entire purpose. He's a giant battering ram of a bug with very strict armor. So basically, he's just a meat shield. But that said, he does hit pretty hard, and he does have a few abilities that need to be watched out for. Now, the cool mechanic about this fight is, for the first phase, it's actually a little boring for tanks. There are adds that do spawn, but it's not too unmanageable. But he does have this thing called Impervious Carapace. Now, you notice that these little rocket launchers, these firework launchers set around here, what you do is you take two of your DPS, they load themselves up, and they literally launch themselves onto the face of the Mantid warrior. So basically, they get up there, and their job is to punch through the Impervious Carapace enough that they can go ahead and basically cause it to sort of chunk off so you can do actual damage to him. The entire time, Rygon will keep ramming the wall while arrows are being rained down upon him, and every time he rams the wall, you'll see the players get knocked off and have to relaunch themselves back up. Now, if your DPS is good, it doesn't take too long to kind of burn him down. Now, you notice those little whirlwinds that sort of kind of come up and every now and then. That's called engulfing winds. Creates a tornado that inflicts about 60,000 nature damage within 3 yards, and an additional 60,000 nature damage every second that you're in it. So you do have to avoid those. There are some adds that do come in, since obviously one of the gates is down, and there are some flyers to deal with. And then you'll also see another ability called Kirk Thick Swarm Bringer. Basically, it's an ad that comes in that summons, you can see him there. He summons markers to bring swarms, screeching swarms into the battle. And you'll see me running from them in a second, because they do a ton of damage. It absorbs healing done too, which really, really stinks. It absorbs about 80,000 healing done, and inflicts 25,000 shadow damage every second that you're in. You can see that big red circle with those bugs all over the place. The bug detaches from the host after about 10 seconds of the swarmer being there, and then after that it does additional damage on top of it, where it does not just shadow damage, but also about 20,000 physical damage every second for everybody within 20 yards. It's basically, you stand in it, you're going to die. This is a great fight to really highlight that. They really want you to not stand in the bad. So you can see here, he's about to crack. You can see little bits of the carapace falling down. And once he cracks, he actually gets really mad and stops chasing after the wall and starts chasing players. You saw those big red eyes pop up for a second. That's exactly what it was him marking the player that he was going to follow. Now these black pots or these black pools that come down are tar, and like any other fight or anything else that you would expect tar to do, it's there to slow the boss down. So if you want to kite, or you need to kite like I do here, because I'm a healer, I can't really take a hit. You need to make sure that the black pool is between you and him. That's pretty much the entire fight, and after this you have pushed back the Mantid swarm and given yourself enough time that you can actually go ahead, collect your spoils, and given the Shado-Pan a lot of aid. Very fun instance. Again, feel free to check back for more videos. My name is Joe, and I'm from InternetDragons.tv.